Now it's time to start talking about who can the Gators QB commit in the class of 2027 be. So it's really early to talk about it, as still 4.5 months until the 2026 class signs. But the quarterback is a position that you're usually going to sign a year get to commit a year in advance. You go look back at DJ Lagway, he committed in early December of 2023.
Yeah, that sounds right.
2022. After year one, I'm pretty sure he committed, right?
No, I think he committed. Rashada had already signed, right? When he that was after Rashada signed. That whole deal went. I think that was in 2023. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold up.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Yes, sorry. No, you're right. You're right. Because
December 20th, 2023.
Yeah, December 23. Okay.
Oh wait, no, sorry. That's when he. Sorry, no, that's when he signed.
We'll never figure this out. No, it had to have
December 7th, 2022.
Yeah, okay.
So you got DJ Lagway to commit over nearly a year in advance. So when he actually ends up signing with the Gators, we had Will Griffin commit in the June of 2024. So that's going to be a year and a half before he ends up signing. So I don't think it's so ridiculous to talk about who can the Gators QB commit in the class of 2027 be. Now, you look at our previous 2 cycles. So we got Tramel Jones, top 250 guy, solid QB commit. Now we have Will Griffin, also a top 250 guy. Born Gator, feels like someone who we were going to land no matter what. But you don't have that elite name like you had with DJ Lagway. Well, I think a big part of that is you're paying DJ Lagway money. Mm-hmm. Can we afford, as of this moment, to pay another QB as highly rated as Lagway was? I think that's why you've seen us taking 2 guys that, we can still develop, and maybe their depth, or maybe one of them ends up breaking out and being a better player than their ranking would suggest. So that's a good thing. But in this 2027 class, you're probably not going to be paying DJ Lagway's. I would expect him to be 3 years and done and going to the NFL.
Yeah.
So who are all the eyes on? I think there's 2 players to look at. One is 4-star QB out of Flower Mound, Texas, Colton Nussmeier, obviously the younger brother and son Doug Nussmeier and young brother of Garrett Nussmeier. I think maybe we're less looking at him, but the guy I think we really should be looking at is 5-star QB, number 1 QB in the country. He is ranked, hold up, I have it right here, ranked number 15 on the Rivals industry ranking. Took me a second to think of that, but ranked number 15, top 15 player, 5-star out of Dunham School in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, I know you're going to hear Baton Rouge and being from Louisiana and probably think he's an LSU lock. Well, some things that may soothe your mind, ease your mind, is the fact that he is originally from Georgia. So he's not one of these Louisiana kids who their family has been here for generations. And you always see, that's why you see Louisiana kids end up staying home more often than you see in a bunch of other states. So I think there is more room for Elijah Haven to end up traversing the country instead of just staying in Louisiana. I know LSU is a big factor as recruitment, Ohio State, but he's mentioned Florida as one of his top schools and teams that are really pressuring him the most as of this time to try to land his commitment. And he said he plans on committing later this year, maybe sometime in the fall. He has planned to try to get to the Florida-Texas game, which would, Gators' big-time environment, one of the biggest games in the swamp in a long time. And hopefully we've at least beaten one of LSU or Miami, if not both. So we have that high ranking, and Gator fans aren't really down going into that game. But, you're going to have that crazy environment and a number 1 rated QB in the country in that class. Like, that's something that the students are going to buy into for going into that game. Maybe he also goes to the Florida LSU game. So if you walk into Death Valley and pull out a win there, that's something that might also stay in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously it's still a little early for him, so we'll see what happens. Like, obviously, hope you get him on campus for a couple games this year if you can. With Haven, you said ranked 15 in the Rivals. He's actually ranked even higher on the 247 composite, sitting at number 12. And on 247's own rankings, he's the number 1 overall player in the country. So, really highly rated guy here. And I mean, I think that the point you touched on is pretty important. Like, when I first heard that Florida was going after this guy, I heard it and I was like, oh, Baton Rouge native quarterback. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm okay. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure. I wonder where he's going to go. But yeah, it really does seem like, obviously, like you said, not originally from there. And just from everything we're hearing, it sounds like this is by no means like an LSU or, LSU's the clear team to beat recruitment. Seems pretty wide open here. And, obviously seems like Florida's making him a priority. And he certainly feels that way. So obviously you just kind of want to see what happens in the fall, because his commitment probably, if he follows the DJ Lagway trajectory, could be coming, towards the end or shortly after his senior season. So, or sorry, his junior season.
Mhm.
So, I think you got to get him on campus this fall. That's obviously the key, and hopefully that happens. But, early here, but I think really, really talented player, and it seems like Florida's a real player in the race for him.
And yeah, I think another key factor to look at with him being from Louisiana, I mentioned earlier Colton Nussmeier. I mean, obvious reasons, especially if Brian Kelly is still at LSU, for them to go after him as their main QB. He's ranked number 84 on the Rivals initial ranking, so still a top 100 guy, and it would make a lot of sense. But they also have two other players from Louisiana, Peyton Hudson, who's ranked 94, so another top 100 QB, and there's another one, Malachi Ziegler, who's ranked 172, a little bit lower, but it's still early on. I mean, someone 172 could easily finish as a 5-star, and a 5-star could easily finish a lot lower in the rankings. But I mean, we saw with Lagway, he was ranked as a top 30 5-star-ish player for a long time. And if Billy Napier has identified him as their number one QB target, then I think this is a guy who's probably going to stay pretty highly ranked for the year and a half to come until he would and eventually sign with whoever he does sign with.
Yeah, and I mean, just I think the interest he's getting across the board would kind of indicate that as
Yep.
well. Yeah, this seems like right now, this seems like the premier quarterback prospect in this class. This is the Bryce Underwood or whatever, or whatever, if you will, of the 2027 class. So Florida kind of got that guy with Lagway a couple years ago. We've seen how it's worked out so far. And hopefully between now and his commitment, we'll have a little bit more, even more proof of concept with DJ Lagway.
And yeah, just get right here. Michael's saying we are getting some good recruits now. When we start winning in 26 and 27, we will be having some serious dudes. And right after, believe it or not, a lot of players want a culture, and we are building that. I think it's worth mentioning the winning part because winning games is how you prove to your boosters that they should invest more in. We keep winning. Boosters will keep delivering us a bit more money. And obviously, we went and bought DJ Lagway, and they're willing to put the same money into what they put into Lagway. Then we're probably going to be able to put a lot of money in to go and get Elijah Haven in that 2027 class, whether we are winning a lot or not. But yeah, winning games especially does help you prove to recruits that you can be a serious national title contender because a lot of these 5-star guys, they want to win football games compared to folks. And sorry, some other noise happening. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, if you can prove to them that you can do it, then they're going to come to you. And if you have the money, they're especially going to want to come play for you.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're, an Oregon or like a Texas Tech, with the money they've got coming in, like right now, it doesn't, if you're not winning, ultimately, there's kind of a level of recruiting that's going to be, you're not going to have access to. I think Florida is recruiting pretty high, like pretty close to its ceiling, like outside of that level. I think winning is what it's going to take to get to that elite recruiting level. And I think if Billy sticks around, if the Lagway era becomes what we think it can be, and get a playoff appearance here in the next year or two, maybe make a little run. I think at that point, I think you'll start to really see the recruiting results turn around. I mean, we just saw what good a 4-game winning streak to end the season can do for recruiting. We saw that last year.
Yeah, and something interesting, it kind of a little bit not irrelevant, but a little less relevant to this specific topic. I'm looking at these QB rankings, and 5 of the top 6 QBs in the class of 2027 are from the South. Haven from Louisiana, number 2, Kavian Bryant from Texas, J.C. Johnson from Georgia. Then you have one kid from California who's already committed to Ohio State. And then Gunnar Rivers at number 5, the son of Philip Rivers from Alabama. And Colton Nussmeier right there at 6 from Texas. So a lot of QBs in the South, and I think that's a good thing for Florida to have. And it's real interesting looking at Gunnar Rivers there.
Yeah, I was about to say Rivers having a kid. Rivers having a kid that's about to go be playing college football is crazy. And what's even crazier is there's just going to be like 7 of these every 2
Yeah.
years for the next decade and a half. So buckle up.
Yeah, it's gonna get real interesting. And you know what? The funniest option here is if like they all go to NC State.
Yeah, just NC State just as like a 15-year quarterback dynasty of Philip Rivers' offspring. That would be awesome. That
Hey,
would
one of
rule.
them might not be a quarterback. One of them might be like a slot receiver.
That would be even better if they're like you have like an all Rivers offense. Like one's a running back, one's a quarterback, one's a receiver. That'd be sick, dude.
It would really be awesome. Yeah, I mean, also Rob Napier needs to have success with Lagway to have a chance with Haven. Didn't even mention this. I think you already have a really good floor with Lagway. I think if you get what you saw last year, now obviously look at the 12-9 touchdown to interception ratio. It's like, oh, that's pretty bad. But I think that's a little bit skewed towards he had more interceptions than he even had turnover-worthy plays. He also had so many touchdowns where the receivers were tackled inside the 5. Like Lagway probably could have had 5 or 6 more touchdowns if receivers had a little bit more speed or balance. I mean, especially Elijah Badger. Do you remember how many times where he would just like slip up after catching the ball or get tackled and not have enough speed inside the 5?
Yeah, go, like make an unnecessary move. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
you're going to have, I
no, go
think
ahead.
especially J. Michael Sturdivant, like some of these taller, quick receivers, if they're beating their man and getting those open deep balls that are going to be more consistent with their strides, I think you're going to have a lot less of those being tackled inside the 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the hope. I mean, what I'll say with Lagway is I think, I think Billy needs to have, I think Gators need to be successful this year, obviously. And I think if we're looking at Lagway the way we kind of expect to be, in January, which is as an elite quarterback prospect going into his junior season, elite NFL draft prospect going into his junior season, I think that's kind of what you're looking for if you're trying to make that sell to Haven. Because I mean, we know Lagway can win games. We know he's got the talent, but I think seeing him develop into an NFL quarterback, I think that's what would be, I think really push that selling point to Elijah Haven.
Yeah, so we want to talk a little bit more about the Gators QB room going to the future, especially after Lagway. So we expect to have Lagway until after the 2026 season. Hopefully, had a bunch of success. Let's say we sign Elijah Haven.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to have your 2 QBs I mentioned earlier, in Tremello Jones and Will Griffin. And of course, Adam Warner is going to be the projected starter going into that year. I'm just kidding. Maybe. I hope so, but I think I'm kidding. I really like Tremello Jones. I know he had a leg injury or he had some injury his senior year. I think he could have been a bit higher in the rankings, and I've watched a bit more of him. Like, he's not I don't think he's going to be some all-American level QB as a first-round pick, but I think with the talent we've recruited at receiver and our offensive line development, how it's been, and RB development, like with the talent around him, I expect that he can be a good QB that can distribute the ball and make some of those tougher throws down the field. Maybe not as mobile as you would expect for a shorter guy, but I think he's someone who could be a solid QB. And Will Griffin still has his whole senior year to play and develop and get on campus. So don't want to count him out at all in this situation, especially someone who has been as loyal as he has to the Gators. But I don't think as of this moment or even a year from now, we're going to be looking at either of those guys as like, oh, we know after Lagway is gone, they're going to be the starter. Especially if you go bring in Elijah Haven, who's a 5-star number 1 QB in his class. We'll see where he ends up finishing in the rankings. But you bring in him, another thing that could be attractive towards him is the fact that he could start year 1. And you go look at DJ Lagway, he was sitting behind the bench on Mertz, but injuries happened. And Lagway was still playing even when Mertz wasn't injured. Like, Lagway was giving every third drive, and that's something that could be really good towards a QB's development. And it could be something that shouts to Elijah Haven as, hey, I could play early, and I know Billy isn't going to rush me in there if he doesn't need to. So I think that's something that could also help us land him, but it's also something that could be interesting for a QB battle heading into that 2027 season.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in terms of like trying to predict all the little moving pieces that are going to happen, but I think, looking at Tramel Jones and Will Griffin, I think what you said is pretty key, that like, while they're both, talented players that have potential that could develop into good SEC quarterbacks, neither of them is like the clear, obvious Lagway successor.
Yep.
So, they're both kind of more project guys that, I mean, obviously maybe Will Griffin has a fantastic senior season and we view him a little bit less so as a project guy, in a few months, but for now, that's kind of how he projects in terms of his recruiting ranking. So I think, I mean, if I had to guess, if you were to secure a commitment from Haven in the next, let's say in the next 6 months at some point, I would think at that point, like, I would think one of those Tramel Jones and Will Griffin would probably have moved on going into the 2027 season. And then you would expect whoever stuck around to be competing with Haven, and that's your quarterback battle, maybe with another transfer at that point, going into 2027.
Yeah, I mean, look at Notre Dame right now. I think could be a similar example where after their season losing Riley Leonard, they have 3 QBs, and Steven Jedley ended up transferring during the spring portal, going to Syracuse, and they expected to start for them. But they were able to convince the other guy to still be there. And I mean, I think they're still calling it a QB battle, but everyone expects CJ Carr to win it and for him to end up starting for Notre Dame this year. And if you could do that, I mean, maybe Haven does win it out as a freshman. I mean, honestly, I haven't watched too much of him. I'm just going based on what the offers and what the rankings say at this moment. So if he's as good as the rankings would suggest, then he's definitely someone that could play early on in his career. But if you can be in a spot where going into that spring of the 2027 season, where you have 2 experienced QBs who maybe one of them or both of them are still good QBs, and then you bring in that all-elite freshman 5-star quarterback, I think you could be in a really good spot, and feel like it'll be a pretty tough chance that we end up having poor QB play.
Yeah, I think you'd give yourself like a pretty good chance of finding someone who's serviceable at that point. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to see, because like, I think it's not, there's not like a clear pathway, but like we've seen true freshmen can play in the SEC. Like, I don't think you would want to put that on Elijah Haven, but at the same time, obviously Lagway did it last year. I shouldn't say in the SEC, just in high level college football, because I was going to say, we kind of seems like Bryce Underwood's going to do it this year. Even if he doesn't win that job week 1, I think, I mean, I don't know about you, I'd be pretty surprised.
I'm pretty sure he's expected to win it.
Is he? Okay, I hadn't heard if there was like, but I'm saying even if he doesn't, even if Mikey Keene starts the first game, it's like, I think I'd be willing to bet Bryce Underwood starting the last game. So
yeah, I think
so,
that's a safe bet. Pending injuries with the
obviously. But so, I think Haven right now, based on the way he's ranked and the interest he's getting, he kind of projects to be among that kind of caliber of prospect. So I don't think it's unthinkable. Yeah, Chris Leak, Michael's right. Chris Leak did start as a true freshman.
This out.
Sorry.
Rob, by success, I mean Heisman candidate and possible top 2 pick in the draft. And yeah, that's the thing to look at with Lagway, is like, if we're getting what we think we can get in Lagway, he's going to be someone that could go to New York twice and maybe win it. And I'd expect at this point that he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Yeah. Like, we're obviously a long ways away, but Anthony Richardson with his tools was a first-round draft pick. And, Lagway's a little bit less mobile, but I think he's a more solid stint or QB than what AR was. So I think Lagway we're looking at as a very solid, highly touted NFL draft pick at this time. And then, Michael here, look what he did with Mertz and now Lagway. I think something that people forget, and, people make fun of Mertz still now, especially because Lagway comes in and we start winning. But Mertz at Wisconsin was a QB that nobody wanted. Like, he was kind of like a laughingstock, a joke of college football, kind of like what Bo Nix was until he went to Oregon. But then Billy takes Mertz and he's expected to start. And I remember I was upset about it. So many people were upset about it. But, Mertz doesn't come here and become an all-American top-tier QB. But he goes from someone who was like a turnover machine to a solid, steady game manager type of quarterback who ended up getting drafted in the 6th or 5th round of the NFL draft. And I think was better than what most people could have done with him or what people would have projected him to be here at Florida. And now, Lagway, especially if he's able to go out there and become that all league type of quarterback that we think he is and gets drafted really high. And I mean, I don't put too much into it, and I don't know how much the coaching staff sells on it or how much players will take it. But he also had Anthony Richardson drafted as a top 5 player in the draft. So, I mean, I don't know if recruits will really look at that as anything, but they might. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Tyler Shuck was 8 picks away from being a first-round pick this past year at age 25.
Oh my God. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, even if Lagway is like disappointing these next 2 years, he has a good chance of being a first-round pick due to straight up talent, you know?
Yeah, he's just that type of athlete and that type of player, and he has the correct mindset to do everything right here. Yeah, Michael here. I mean, I can't freaking wait. Lagway 10 times better than AR. Sorry, guys. I'm just so pumped. I mean, hey, we're all pumped here, and we're inching closer and closer to the season. But I think to answer what this question is and what this video is, can Florida land 5-star QB Elijah Haven? I think we definitely can. And you can say that, hey, we've lost a lot of 5 stars because of the money battle. But I think you look at the fact that we got Lagway and we're paying him a lot of money. And if Lagway turns out to be what we think he's going to be, he's going to bring in more money for us to recruit with. So I think there's a good chance that we could land Haven if, things go the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make a prediction right now just because it's way too early and there's a lot that still needs to happen. But I mean, I think is Florida in a position? Florida put itself in a position to land him? Like, yeah, absolutely. And now the ball is in their court to have the season that they're expected to have, continue to develop DJ Lagway, and obviously get him on campus and continue to push him.
Yeah, I think something's interesting. I mean, you may think we're talking about Haven too early, and we should wait to see how he is if he gets on campus for a game. This is how we were talking about DJ Lagway this time in 2022. And I mean, you may say, oh no, because he didn't commit until December, that it was much later. I remember I went to the Florida Texas A&M game in 2022 at College Station, and my dad and I, we were talking about going to Lagway's high school game because it was like 30 minutes away from College Station, 45 minutes away from College Station, like 30 minutes away from where we were staying at. We were legitimately talking about going to Lagway's game at Willis because of how hyped of a prospect he was and how high the Gators were on his board and everything. But we didn't end up going, so I'm pretty sure it was raining that night. And we had a long drive that Friday from Florida to Texas. So we ended up not going. But we were legitimately planning on it if it wasn't for that weather.
Yeah. No, I remember that too. I mean, I remember talking about Lagway before Rashada even committed. Like, I remember we were looking ahead to this class, to Lagway in the 24 class for a while. And again, with, if this were a linebacker, I think it would be kind of silly for us to be making this video and doing this segment, to be perfectly honest. But it's not, because like these guys commit early. And when they commit, they're fairly, I mean, I'm not saying they don't flip. It happens, you see it, but they're usually not only pretty locked in, but then become pretty important recruiters for you to, flesh out the rest of the class.
I mean, hey, there's a linebacker in that 2027 class, Caden Henderson, top number 26. Like, he's not a 5-star by the technical point terms, but number 26 is basically a 5-star at this point. Out of Jesuit High School, teammates with Will Griffin going into his senior year. Maybe we can talk about him as a 5-star linebacker right here in our backyard and everything. But no, of course, we're not going to make a video about that. And like, unless there's legitimate, there's legit buzz. We're not recruiting him, but like, unless someone comes up here soon. But we're only going to make this type of video at this point for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And especially one with as high of a ceiling and as high of potential as a 5-star in Elijah Haven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. Yeah, you mentioned linebacker, and that's pretty funny because I was like, yeah, we have a 5-star guy, right? Teammates with Will Griffin and Jesuit. I mean, do players from Jesuit ranked highly ever not go to Florida?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head that hasn't. It feels like they all do.
I mean, I don't know how many highly ranked players Jesuit actually has every year, but
can't be. I don't think it's a ton, but I don't think that's like a premier development high school program. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, don't get mad at me if you're a Jesuit alum and they are.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good if the Gators go full in on him, which I expect they would. That he ends up being here. And again, it's still really early in the recruiting cycle. He could drop 300 spots. I mean, I know FSU has a defensive line commit. I think James Carrington. Let me double check that. Who was ranked in like the 300s, who was at one point like a top 15 player in the class. And Yeah, right here. So he was ranked. No, he was ranked as like one of the maybe the top player, a .9952, which is like a top 3 player in the class back in September of 2023, and he now ranks 459. He's not even a 4-star.
Jeez.
So it's really early, and things will change a lot. And I mean, I don't know why FSU is going to California to get a defensive line commit who's a 3-star, but a lot can happen. A lot will happen, and hopefully we get some of these high-ranked players in 2027.
Yeah, we'll just have to see kind of where he sits in the ranking. I think after his junior season, I think if he's still ranking this high after his junior year, I think at that point it's pretty clear he's probably going to be staying up there among the higher rated recruits.
And remember Lagway? I mean, he was ranked as like a top 5-star player for the entire time, but from his junior year before his senior year, he was ranked as like in the 20s. He wasn't ranked as a top 10 recruit. But then he ended up being Gatorade Player of the Year his senior year and took a humongous step after that junior season and ends up becoming the number 1 QB for 3 of the 4 main sites. And wait, can we check? I want to check something here. If you look at the new Rivals rankings for the old classes, which one does it give you?
Which one was the one that didn't have him number 1? Was it Rivals or On 3?
It was Rivals.
Okay.
So, can you even check that? I mean, recruiting. Okay, so they still list all 4 for previous cycles. So
gotcha.
Because On 3 had him ranked number 2, 247 had him ranked number 3, ESPN had him ranked number 1, all as the top QB in this country. But then Rivals had him ranked 28 as the 3rd best quarterback. Or maybe 4th. I can't remember.
Wow, I didn't realize Rivals was that big of an outlier.
And it's the same thing that happened with LJ McCray. And 3 of the sites had him as a top 10 player. Then Rivals had him like in the 60s. That's just Rivals with their anti-Gator bias, of course.
100%. 100%.
It's a big conspiracy. You have to make a song, call us Weird Al Yankovic.